What would you create if you had 30 minutes to plan and 4 hours to build? Today, we challenge 3 teams of 2 developers to build an app that's a game you have to play on at least 2 devices.
I'm looking over your shoulder like I understand Go.
I'm staring at my screen like I understand Temporal.
How's the front end looking?
I got past my blocker.
All right.
The clicks are not working.
It just stopped working.
Welcome to the Web Dev Challenge. Welcome, everyone. Today, we've brought you all together to take on the Web Dev Challenge, and the challenge that you are going to be taking on is to build a game that requires at least 2 devices to play. And to do that, you're going to be building with Temporal. And to talk a little bit about what Temporal is, we've got our friend Alex here.
I'm Alex Garnett. I am a developer advocate at Temporal, and I get to do cool events like this sometimes. Temporal is what's called a durable execution platform. It lets you spend all of your time coding for what you actually want to code and not on edge cases, infrastructure failures, and things like that. It makes your software fault tolerant by default and gets you state tracking, error handling, and graceful rollback and retries from whatever unexpected states you might get into, so you don't crash when you don't want to, and you can always retry in place. It models your code as a series of events, and it transitions between those events as needed. If you hit something you don't expect, you can always go backwards or back to the start, and if an external service goes down, it can just retry in place indefinitely. That way you don't have to worry about outages, downtime, or anything like that. We've got SDKs for every language you could think of: Python, Go, Java, Ruby, .NET, PHP, and for today, TypeScript. It's not a game engine, but I think it's a pretty nice everything engine. So good luck, have fun, and thanks for having us.
All right, so from here, we're gonna move into the planning phase. You're gonna have 30 minutes to plan your apps. Your 30 minutes is gonna start right now.
Let's get it on!
So will I need to keep track if I just jumped, you're gonna send the jump back to me?
In a way, that would be easier.
So then I would track that I just jumped.
It would feel a little laggy, right? Because like it's gonna do a full round trip and then your guy jumps.
Well, I'll jump immediately. I'll do an optimistic interaction. My name is Adam Argyle.
I'm Lane Wagner.
We have a game called Flappy Face. We're going to be using a local machine learning model to look at your eyebrows and your jaw or whatever else is happening and use those to trigger jumping. We're hoping that it makes for some good TV as people are playing our game going. Or you can smile if you want to be happy and play, you know. It's gonna be freaky.
We're gonna be using Vanilla Go on the back end, besides of course the Temporal SDK, and then Vanilla.js on the front end with some...
No build.
Yeah, no build.
We're eliminating all of the potential errors and just going straight for what we're both really good at.
Yeah, CSS and Go.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. I'm feeling 100% confident then, and 110% confident in Adam.
I guess there's a lot I'm worried about. But I'm still feeling good.
I'm pretty good at Go, been writing a lot of Go, not very good at anything else, so that's gonna be unfortunate.
We're just gonna get stuck on mundane stuff. You just don't even know. So you could have this great plan, but who knows?
The idea itself is one of the funnier things I've heard in a long time, so I'm really excited to see just kind of what they do with that.
It's already funny. I think they'll be able to send something back and forth from a server, so like out of the gate, I'm already chuckling.
Right? Because like it's gonna do a full round trip. And
What's probably gonna happen, I don't wanna tell you how to do the challenge, but you're gonna have workers deployed server side that are running the server side part you wrote as workflows and activities.
Okay.
And you're gonna have clients that are actually gonna then send signals back and forth from those workflows. And the clients are gonna be represented by each individual player, probably. I have no right.
So each player gets a client, maybe?
I think that's probably the easiest way to start.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Sarah.
Ideally, one player will steal while the other player guesses what that player stole, and then they switch roles.
So we're going to be using, our tech stack's going to be Next, Vue, Tailwind, and that's really
And Temporal.
And Temporal. I feel very confident on the Vue and Next side of things. On the Temporal side, I'm still a little iffy, but that's what I have Nikki for. She's my, she is the backend person.
We're going to be building the backend in TypeScript, which is based on the serverless features for Next, which is a Vue-based framework.
Nikki and I have never built something together before. We've known each other since we were teenagers, and this is our first time working on a project together.
And I'll come back around, but that should be a great starting point.
Okay.
Winner check.
Oh yeah. So all of these will always return the current game time context. So if you make a move, you add a piece,
Yep, it
you get
always
the latest
does.
game state,
Yep.
and then the front end just
Yep.
reacts to the
Yep,
data
it just
change.
tells me if there's a winner, if there's not a winner, who the winner is.
My name's Nick Taylor.
I'm Shashi Low.
We're gonna be building Connect 4, but kind of putting a bit of twist on it.
On the front end, we're going to use React with TypeScript, and then we're going to spin up a storybook application as well to document our components.
And on the back end, it's gonna be a Node.js back end, and we're gonna be using a WebSocket server. And that's gonna wire up to the front end with a custom React hook that will be listening to the WebSocket server.
I think something we're going to struggle with is time.
We have like some stretch goals. It's pretty clear to me what we need to do. So I'm feeling pretty good about the plan.
They mentioned that it was like Connect 4 Plus, and so I'm curious to see what they had in mind. Designing game mechanics is really hard, so it's always kind of fun to see how somebody messes with the rules of something that we all know pretty well.
Okay, yeah, so I can manage that in the server state then.
And then after that, like, writing the
This is a CSS bound.
But like, for example, say like we start the game.
Yep.
So starting a game is starting the workflow.
Yep.
We add the 2 players, and then the workflow, like it's gonna check is the game over? No.
Yep.
So like that while loop won't go indefinitely. It's just gonna run the workflow and then stop.
Yep. So one of the cool things about Temporal is your workflows aren't like blocked ever. They're not just executing in a loop.
Yeah.
They're waiting until they have some more logic to run, and then a
Okay.
worker will actually pick up the task and run it.
Okay, so it just kind of freezes the state and
Exactly.
then comes back.
So once there's 9 guesses inside of their board, they're
But
done.
they're done. But if we're doing it the opposite,
It would be the
wait for
same exact
both.
same.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like both players would have the exact same thing.
Of it,
So
right?
here's what we got. We got Temporal, our Go server. We're interacting here, so the client and the...
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
Okay, cool.
So that you're actually using Go to send SDK functions back to the Temporal server.
Yeah. So let's imagine people jumped 10 times. Can we replay the 10 jumps? It's a stretch goal for us to just hit a button and have the whole game replayed.
Oh yeah, you can totally do that. Like that, you'll be amazed that once you get to that point, how straightforward that is.
That's kind of what we're, okay.
That'll
that's
be
what we're
like
asking about.
like at the end, you just turn one more variable and you just get that for free.
Gotcha. So if we have a workflow that waits for connections, begins a pool, waits for a pool of connections, begins. What part is the workflow and what part is the Go server supposed to be responsible in that kind of model?
So your SDK is basically that's a temporal client in effect, right? So that client can send signals or updates or queries. Yeah.
That's planning time.
More.
Pencils down immediately. Everybody stop planning. You feeling confident? How you feel?
Temporal's the mystery.
Right, but we've got
we got Alex.
Our very own Scooby-Doo over here.
No mysteries.
Everybody walking into a concept that's unfamiliar. I think nobody here has worked with Temporal before. I'm a little concerned about how much time people will lose to getting their heads around how this sort of programming works. I'm also really excited to see, once they do get that mental model to click, how far they're going to be able to go using this kind of workflow builder. You've got 4 hours to build your apps, and that time starts right now.
What's the differentiator between like activities and workflow.ts files?
Activities are usually what you put code that can fail in, right? So if you have an external service call, that can go on an activity. Because activities are allowed to be retried automatically.
Okay.
And that's where you get a lot of the benefits of Temporal, is through those retry policies for your activities.
Okay.
We generally say that workflow code has to be deterministic, whereas
gotcha.
activities have to be idempotent.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out the temporal stuff. I'm pretty much, I got the workflow, got the activity going. I'm trying to figure out the relationship between this running server instance and the activities themselves. But I'm real close.
The simplest thing we typically use a client for in our examples is to start a workflow.
Okay,
Right?
so I need to have a workflow
And
first.
so that's why a lot of our examples are like, you have like a worker and then a starter, because like all the client has to do is just kick off a workflow.
Okay.
The workflow's going to do one thing and exit, so you can just see our simplest clients just say
Yeah.
start the workflow and then return, basically.
Okay, got
So,
it.
You don't need an external database for most of the things you're going to be using for Temporal. So you can keep all your variables in your workflow, and those are persisted back to the Temporal server, which in a real-life production deployment is backed by Cassandra or something. And so the idea is you can keep all your data in that workflow.
Oh, so the optional params to activity and workflow, well, maybe not workflow, but activity, like to create an activity, and the values you return from the activity,
Those are
just
defined by you.
stored.
Yeah, those are just stored values on the workflow side.
I'm looking for the ones that are the most clear. So like a smile.
Okay, yeah, so like eyebrow waggle.
See how it goes over the
Yeah.
0.5 threshold?
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm looking for. Jaw open does it too. Very clear signal.
But don't forget,
Eye look is not gonna be good. Pucker.
Oh, you can duck face it. Oh my God.
Pucker works.
Oh, that's amazing. Smile looks like it's pretty good too.
Smile's pretty good. Well, and are we looking at the eyebrows or the mouth shape? It's the mouth, right? The
I think
mouth.
it might be mouth stuff because your eyebrow
mouth
one is
smile.
a little
Mouth
less-
smile left or
Smile
right?
is good, yeah.
This will be my quest next, is to filter out all of these signals and just trigger jumps with any of them.
I love it. I'm so excited for the kissy face.
Oh my goodness,
that's too
dude, mouth
good.
pucker
That
is
is
hilarious.
too good.
I can't believe it. I'm so glad we scrolled the list more.
Inside of your style sheet, do you have a targeting? Add a tailwind to your style sheet.
I already did that.
Oh, okay, never mind. That was my next idea. I'm out of ideas now. Sorry. Thanks, bye.
Oh, I thought for a second this was your code. I was like, damn, dude, you got so much done.
I wish. I'm just kidding there.
I'm looking over your shoulder like I understand Go.
I'm staring at my screen like I understand Temporal.
So I'm working on the back end part, so I'm working with Temporal.
Yep.
So I'm able to start a new workflow here. So
Yep.
like I have a WebSocket server running.
And I see you're using the web UI for introspection as well, which
Yeah.
is cool. So you can see basically like the log of the signals that were all sent to the running workflow. If you expand one of those, can you check out the payload? Like, is that containing any parameters? Cool, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see it sent like a UUID and a player name.
Yeah, and that's what I sent from here.
Awesome.
So that's definitely working.
Yep, it's a great start. How's it going, Go team?
Pretty much off the races. I think I've got the last of the confusing parts figured out.
Nice. Okay, so you've got your front end running via WebSockets, or?
Yep, just vanilla JavaScript
Yes.
connected through the WebSocket API.
That makes sense. Nice work.
So I've got a working face tracking and mostly working game. To make the level get harder,
Right.
it starts out with a slow easing and ends with a really fast
Where
one.
does the face part come in?
Well, technically right now you should be using your face to jump, but
Oh
the thing
my God.
is when I turned that on, it got all shitty and janky. I don't know if I can even do the vision thing right now.
Yeah.
It is literally dropping the game down to like 4 frames per second, which is completely unusable for a game that needs to be running.
I don't know anything about what your game is going to be like at this point, do I? I don't think you've told me.
She can explain it better.
Can she?
Yeah, just you're gonna try to steal stuff from the other player, and then guess what they stole off of your board.
That's really neat. That's actually a really cool
Thanks.
multiplayer game. Okay, so it's designed for 2 people.
Yep.
Right? And you just have to
It'll
send the state
switch,
back and
yeah.
forth whenever they pick one of the
Steal
memory
from
tiles.
each other, and then guess what they stole on yours.
That seems, can I say, incredibly well scoped.
Just as a general question, like you're doing a storybook, which feels like a lot of setup for something that you don't have a lot of time to build.
With Storybook, we're just default doing the default documentation, so it's super fast. But the reason is so that we can build the combination of components on the screen and then test it out too, because as he's building the back end, I'm gonna build now the full-fledged page.
Yeah. So you're kind of treating it like almost like a sandbox environment.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Because then now as I build this onto the storybook, I can pass it different props and mock the data, and then now we can see how it's gonna look like.
Already defined the game context, and that's all he needs.
Yeah.
That's clever.
And
So
then we
yeah,
just
so
feed
kind of
data
like a go slow to go fast thing. Like
Yeah.
A little bit of extra setup,
Yeah.
but then you get a ton of speed out of the back end.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Yep.
Nice. I hadn't really ever thought of using Storybook as effectively a mock server.
Okay, should I test off of your stuff now?
Yeah, that's a good question. You might be able to use your face to try it. Well, here, connect your camera, then try your. Oh no, because oh yeah, it works. Okay, so now hit enter to start the game. You're out of bounds. All right, gotta start. Oh, there you go.
Am I puckering? What am I
You can
doing?
pucker, you can eyebrow, you can smile. Your jaw opens up. Yeah. Okay, so what we have is recreatables.
okay.
We have a recreatable scenario. We're integrating our services.
This is amazing.
Jump and die.
Are we giving the players an ID or like what's
No.
okay?
Well, I guess no, because do you have a field for them?
You know what? We'll just do this. We'll say has player one.
no,
Has
just-
player one. Hold on a second. Hold on.
Just name them player one, player two.
Whatever.
They don't get names anymore.
But basically, I can create a new game now. Shashi's been wiring up stuff for the UI, so like I already have actions to send to the WebSocket server. We can add a new player and stuff, so it's just wiring up a few things near the end. It didn't get as far as we wanted to, but
this is,
I feel
this
good
is a
though.
lot. Yeah, you got a lot going on here, and that's so I'm excited.
And it works on both devices right now.
Oh, see,
So-
and that was like the big thing, right? So
Yeah.
I feel like that's the way to do it, right? Make sure that it's doing the requirements, and then sort of like add polish until
Yeah.
the time runs out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And
So I'm working on the game board itself. I got the wrapper done here, but the game board, what we're gonna do is I have this object that's coming back from Nick. It's a two-dimensional object with a bunch of arrays, and so it hits every cell. And so now I will know which cell, row, and column is supposed to be a player and whatnot. And that way, that data is saved on the back end. And anytime, like if I'm all synced or anything, when I pass it through, the server will pass me the correct, pretty much the matrix, so that I can show the correct tokens in the right areas.
So what's left? You got about a little less than 30 minutes.
We need to create so when people are connecting, we take their player IDs. I'll create a bird for each of them that are like subordinate looking birds. And I had a test just a second ago that had other birds bouncing around, with yours being kind of dominant, so you could tell which one is you.
Oh, I got you.
So we have a game starting, we have people pooling, we have the server starting the game. People can play it, you can make contact with the wall and die. We're sending deaths, we're sending jumps, we're doing a lot of the stuff.
We need to see background birds, basically.
Yeah,
right?
we kind of need to do the multiplayer aspect, but we've got messages passing and we have mechanism.
So what's left?
To make sure that they both are working together. So I got the player one starting, and so now I need to make sure the other device, I don't know that we don't know that the other device is working yet.
Got it. So now it's just kind of getting the messaging back and
Yep,
forth.
yep.
All right, so Nikki, talk to me a little bit about what you've got going on here.
So learned cool things today about persisting data through a temporal workflow is that you can create an activity, instantiate an object. You can carry that object throughout your workflow.
Right.
So this is where they will go to our homepage. It will start a game, generate a game ID, and then another player can log on and start, and then player one, player two will be added, and then as they play along, it'll be added along their game board arrays.
Fuck, something happened with they failed. I wasn't getting, and look, it's like I'm continuing to, shit. I'm still hammered into the ground also, and not making collisions.
11 minutes.
Okay, let me solve that problem. I'll get the birds, the multi-bird thing
Okay.
fixed, I think. You work on like why it's breaking the motions.
Yeah, you got it.
The clicks are not working.
It just stopped working. It's just a TypeScript error that's causing the thing to crash.
Oh,
There we go. We back.
I don't know if I'm in a healthy state.
I don't think I am either.
How's everybody feel?
I failed.
Man, that 100% confidence might have been.
We tried to build a game called
We tried.
Breaking the Law, and the goal was to be a memory game where there are two players. One person would steal from one person's board, and then you'd have to take a turn and then guess which item was stolen from the board. This ID is generated from Temporal and passed to the client, and so the first person goes to the first game, and theoretically the second player would go to the player 2 spot. Then you would steal, you would guess, and you would steal. Oh, hey, look, the icons are staying. They were staying. That was great. It was very challenging because Temporal was a brand new like concept and trying to figure that out. And so I went into that knowing that there was a challenge involved. And if I had like 8 hours, I think we would have come out like a lot more successful with an actual finished product.
And so what do you think is standing between you and a finished app now? Like it looks pretty close here. So
No, that's what it was. It was just attaching.
We needed to attach the icons. We were handling them on the client side at first instead of handling them inside Temporal, which is what we should have been doing.
And then that persists all the way through the Temporal workflow, which is really freaking cool because that was no database. I didn't have a whole lot of faith in that. I'm a changed woman. Like, that's really cool. I like that a lot.
All right, so here's the CLI. So our workflows, we did get them running.
It works.
We just didn't get them connected fully to the client side. So we have our workers and our activities all stored in our server folder. So whenever you go to your first index page, whenever the component itself mounts, I await fetch API and Temporal, and then the Temporal API calls the client from the Temporal source folder and then starts the client, which probably not the way you're supposed to do it, but it worked. And then, we just had my basic components with some ternaries in there, if it was your steal or if it was steal turn or if it was your turn to guess, with the game board. And it was literally just pages, your home page, and then your game ID, and then your player, where the board would change depending on what turn you were on.
This took big brain time. Temporal was big brain time. Whenever you said that you break down the activities into small little steps, right? And so that was like starting the game, getting a game ID, and then creating our little steps, and then you build them into your workflows. And then so just like the tiering of information through Temporal seemed to like make it flow really well. That's what put it in perspective for me, is that you like tiny little pieces build up to it. And then you have all of your activities in your workflow. There's where your activities come in. And then you have your worker manage your workflow, and then your client activate your worker, right? Something like that? Okay, I was close enough. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I like Temporal. I'll be using it again.
Great work. I think the idea of kind of turn-based is a good way to use this sort of setup. The way that they designed their app was simple and fun, and so it was I thought a really clever way to approach this challenge.
So what we tried to build was Connect 4. And what we did first was did high-level planning. As you can see, we got some things done, and we never got to our special features, which good thing we put them in special features. But overall, I think we both felt really good to where we were at for 4 hours. I was able to build components using Storybook and then throw it into Storybook so that we can kind of have an overview of what components we have. It allowed us to also mock components and objects and stuff into our components so we can see them being rendered. And so with the game wrapper, this is what we use to construct the board itself with the players on the side. The design was based off of Front-End Mentor. Because we only have 4 hours, I didn't want to come up with a custom design. I said, let's just use something that's out there. So as you can see, we tweaked it a little bit to minimize the designs that we were going to implement.
I found Temporal pretty approachable. I got blocked on something silly. The queue name was incorrect, so we lost some time there. But regardless, I still think we made a lot of really great progress. You can see we have all kinds of games here. You can also see in the UI, you can see the things that we have here. We have signals, and we're doing queries within the workflow. So make, move, and join game are signals that were happening. The kind of secret sauce is I wired up a WebSocket server, and that's what the Temporal client was instantiated. Basically, the WebSocket server, I ended up using a custom hook in React. I just called it use WebSocket. Basically, anytime anything happened, any action, as soon as the state changed, you would get the new state, and then basically UI would re-render. And this is what Shashi was saying in terms of like, there wasn't too much logic on the client side aside from like just render me when something changes. And the other thing too is this worked on multiple devices. So like, we didn't have a chance to wire it up to the hosted one, but we ended up going with the IP for my computer on the Wi-Fi network. So Shashi was able to create a new game from the same server. Yeah, there's not too much going on here. You just basically get messages, and then I just keep setting some state if anything changes. But that's basically like the secret sauce to wiring it up to the UI. Okay, so I can start the game, and you're gonna see the games there. And if I come back to the workflows here, you're gonna see there's this new game, and you can see that a player joined. Yeah, you can see I'm making moves right now, and they're actually updating with the signals here. The UI is re-rendering. We just didn't get a chance to put the tokens in, but we basically have the XY coordinates on the right here. So if I click here, you can see here the 0, 0 for the top. I thought it was interesting to use Temporal for a game because it's obviously showcasing some features of it, but I found this UI super helpful for me to know what was going on. So.
I wanted to play it. I wanted to play their app.
Yeah, same. I can't believe how much they got done with the TypeScript SDK with Temporal. I mean, it's just impressive. So we started with great ambitions. My confidence in myself was absolutely misplaced. My confidence in Adam
Was also misplaced.
No. We started with an attempt to build the most distributed, fault-tolerant, durable game of Flappy Bird called Flappy Face that, powered by Temporal. 2 hours in, I realized that you can't run a long-running server within a Temporal workflow. That was crushing because it meant I'd have to refactor about 400 lines of code. So, 2 hours in, I decided that instead of backing our application with Temporal, instead we'd try to fool Alex by creating lots of fake Temporal workflows on startup. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but all of ours were completed.
We had enabling a webcam to like look at your face. And so here, I'll just show you some of the data because it's really fun. So here's my face. Ooh, it's very clownish. The interesting thing is over here on the right, where we're seeing look at my brow, outer upper left. Then we got pucker. Oh, we couldn't figure out no sneer, but we learned that mouth pucker, which is great for me. Ooh, 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 ooh. It's great for me. Hates mustaches.
We also found out that there was no need to implement sound effects because not a single person can do this without making their own sound effects.
This is true. So then I made a bird in our thing today, and I was talking earlier how like it's just fun to put it in 3D because once I wanted the wings to flap, then I was like, oh, I might as well rotate it and showcase it. So there's the bird in case we're
in vanilla CSS.
Yeah, it was really
HTML, but
good and easy to prototype in here. So it's just it's 3 boxes. There's a box and 2 boxes on the edge that just pivot on the top. And then I filled them with a triangle shape using a conic gradient like this right here, conic gradient. Things in here are kind of hooking up with the WebSockets. We're listening to the different WebSocket events. So you can see that we were really close. We had multiple characters connecting. We had jumping working, and we had death and collision working, but we needed maybe another hour. We could have this all wrapped up with multiple clients bouncing through the level. You'll see in a second. Here's my collision detections. Oh yeah, so I used to know JavaScript. I used to know library for it. So like player jump is right here. And I'm saying if you're not dead, then hey, call jump to the WebSockets so that the other characters see you jump, mark yourself as jumping, and take the current translate Y off of the element, and because it's falling, take it and put it right back in as a new value minus how big you can jump. And in this case, it was 100. And now we're going to animate to that new position over 0.2 seconds. So every time you jump, I'm actually just interrupting a keyframe animation, turning it into a transition. And when the transition ends, I then say he's done jumping and he goes back to falling. That's literally my game engine. So my game engine only needed to signal to the server a jump and death. Yep. The rest of it was totally off the main thread using CSS animations.
I also wrote an absurd amount of Go for a very small amount of functionality. It's kind of embarrassing. This is a giant state machine written in basically vanilla Go. I do use the Gorilla package for WebSocket stuff that just handles different events like birds connecting, birds disconnecting, birds jumping, birds dying, handles all that kind of stuff. Just basically in this giant Go file.
When we connect, you can see I've got a little indicator. I'm also now getting a countdown from the server, so the server's driving it. And we fell because it's watching my eyes.
There we go.
Oh, ooh. Ooh, ooh, ooh. No, I can't do this for more seconds. Get ready. Oh, that works. So that's it. We really, really wanted to have it all connected and make it to, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000 score. Usually around there, it starts to get way too difficult. Ooh. I need to not talk much because if I get excited, yeah, hi, this is awkward. Hi, we're doing it. Show me up! There we go. We got to 2,000. Thank you.
Amazing. Really solid stuff.
I think that they won today.
I hope Adam realizes that this video is going on the internet and everyone will see him like wagging his mouth open at a video.
This was a lot of fun, being here, nerding out with other people. So the thing that I struggled the most with today was figuring out how to get the client for Temporal actually working. That was the most challenging aspect for me, is just that I felt like I was missing a piece, like the connector to how everything would work smoothly.
I felt like overall, learning Temporal and doing other things as well within the short amount of time we had, it was a great success.
It came together once we got unblocked and things just moved really quickly from there, and then it's like things just fell into place after that.
Oh yeah, it's hard to describe this product. But then you see the things here and it was illuminating. So to see the workflows and to see how other people were leveraging them immediately gave me applications that I can think of. So
2 hours in, I got it and had to rip it out, but I got it.
You're bringing people into a space where there is no analog. There's no comparable thing. You can't make a metaphor. You just sort of have to hammer on the concept until it eventually it just clicks and everybody goes, oh my God, I get it, right? But there's no shortcut to that. It's really challenging. And I think that this durable workflow and the way that these sorts of things function is one of those mental models that I don't know how to teach it faster.